Hey everyone, how's it going? Here we are for another Techno Tuesdays. Everybody's talking about food, I think. I just ate some chicken just after lunchtime, right? So I'm here with our friend Thomas. Hi, Thomas.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back for another episode of 343 TV.
Yeah. And of course, my name is John Selway, and we're here to hang out, make some techno, play around a little bit. And hey, David's here. What's up? I know TAETRO's here. Who else is here? I don't see all the chat right now, but Bread. See, the food theme is on today. What's up, Bread?
That's for sure.
Yeah. So, as a reminder, feel free to shout out any questions into the chat as we hang out and make music. I can't explain why Thomas might be vocal doubled. Maybe I'm not wearing headphones. Maybe that's the problem. Why don't we turn him down a little bit in the mix? That'll help. When I can get to it, I will do it. But so anyway, as far as sort of the format, you guys can chime in with questions. Thomas will field them and hand them to me if I don't see them. We'll be doing a giveaway. Thomas, what's our giveaway today?
Today is going to be for an Arturia Pigments license, which I believe you're going to be covering a little bit of.
Yeah, that's a nice coincidence. I'm new to Pigments, I'll be honest. I've been using their V collection stuff, and I got Pigments not too long ago, and I've just slowly started getting into it. I was playing around with Pigments using the granular sampling capabilities, so I thought I would play around with that a little bit today. And so yeah, you guys will get a little taste of some of the possibilities of the plugin we're giving away. So good luck to you who enter for that. And
yes, I'll be dropping the link in the chat so you guys can enter that right now.
Very, very good. So, Robot Dharma, can I buy John Selway Techno on Bandcamp? That is a possibility. Yeah, I have a Bandcamp, Selway Music, or John Selway. I forget. I'm gonna have to be on top of my links playing this social media streaming game, but definitely have a lot of stuff available on Bandcamp, and any of the main outlets for where people buy music for DJing, for example, Beatport, etc. A lot of stuff is up there of mine and collaborations with other people. So, but yeah, definitely search for me on Bandcamp. Right. Let's get to some music, and I'll start just by playing around a little bit. This is what I was fooling around with last time. It did some kind of 90s style banging techno beats. I used distortion to fatten up the drum sounds. Let's see what we've got. All right, that mini V is off. Always make sure your plugins are on. There we go. All right, so that's one. I've got a few different grooves in here. I was kind of playing around with different synth parts along with these drums. I've also got this one. That's the same MIDI pattern with a different bass sound. All right, and then we have this Arturia SEM pattern going on. I've got some sort of conga type samples in here. And then this synth line I did on the wavetable. I'm refreshing my mind and trying to think about where I'm going to go next. And that's usually how I start out a session that I've interrupted, is just to kind of go back and see where I was and figure out where I want to go forward. Part of the idea for this session I've got going on in live is maybe live performance material, just coming up with a bunch of different patterns that I can bring in and out quickly and switch between and arrange in real time. But also, you know, with a little bit of sound design in mind. And I was starting to think about, I want to have some deeper sections, maybe something a little more harmonic or melodic beyond just these bass lines, or some kind of textures, things like that. So I thought about, I don't know, maybe kind of chord stabs, perhaps some kind of dubby elements for some atmosphere. And then I was also, you know, playing around with, as we mentioned, with pigments, and I was experimenting a little, starting to think about experimenting with the granular elements of pigment. So let's take a look at that. And, you know, this is from the ground up. I haven't pre-prepared. This is, you know, you're going to explore with me, and, you know, who knows where we'll end up. Remains to be seen how successful it is, but it's just, you know, it's the same as anytime, whether I'm streaming for a bunch of people or if I'm on my own with my headphones or whatever. I got to start somewhere. We all got to start somewhere. So let's see. Pigments has two engines, right? And each of these engines can either be a virtual analog oscillator, a wavetable oscillator, or a sampler. And the sampler also has a granular section here. So that's kind of what I want to play with. And I'm actually just going to go with, you can drag and drop any sample from your hard drive into this, but I'm just going to start with what it's got in the factory library here. And let's scroll through some of these. All right, we've got bells and mallets, drones and ambience, some drum loops actually, and some individual percussion sounds in here, field recordings, natural sounds. Could be interesting. So there's a lot of interesting stuff to work with right out of the box. All right. Something about this jumped out at me. It's some sort of rhythmic, slowing that sample down. That could be kind of an, you could make that into a loop. But let's keep going and looking around. Granular friendly. That's nice. All right, we have some guitar. Impact, noise. What was I looking for? There's something else I was looking for in here. Other. Oh. There it is. I listened to this one earlier and I thought, that's kind of a cool rhythm to loop with a kick drum. Let's try that. Get a kick drum going. So I'm tuning my loop old school. It's not warping automatically. It's not time corrected. I've just got to adjust the pitch, you know, get the note and adjust the tuning to get the time that I want. So let's go over here to the fine tuning. Feels about right. And actually having it not being perfect is interesting to me. It makes it a groove a little, it's not too perfect, too machine-like. All right, let's see what we can do with this. Get out of the sample browser there and turn the granular engine on. Now, once you put the granular on, it's totally broken apart, right? We're not hearing that loop anymore. Let's hear it again. So, right, what's happening is it's just chopping up the audio into these tiny little pieces, and we're only just hearing the very beginning of the sample, just a bunch of grains of a little bit of that sound. And we can have up to 256 grains. Sorry, whoa. Or I can bring that down to 3. All right, so you can see how the more grains there are, the more full, the more detailed it sounds. But also keep in mind, all right, this is kind of a CPU intensive thing. The more grains you have, the more CPU is going to be used, and memory too, actually. Let's put it back down to 128. And those little grains are being modulated, right? If I adjust the hertz here, you'll hear those grains are moving more slowly. They're repeating more slowly. And as I increase the density at a higher rate, it becomes more continuous. More grains, more overlap. And one of the things I thought was really cool about this particular granular synth is you can quantize those grains to a rhythm. You can go in and choose sync, either binary or triplets or dotted binaries, just going to be your sort of a straight sync to the clock. And we can choose quarter notes, 8 notes, 16th notes. Let's see how that sounds. All right, so now it's repeating those grains at a 16th note. I can change the shape of the grains. That already sounds kind of cool. We're in industrial techno land right now. All right, I can also move the sample or grain position here. The start of the sample start also moves the grain position. So that could be modulated. I can also change the start position per grain. Change the direction of the grain. Right now they're all going forward. Can make them backwards, but I think for this particular situation, I want them to be forwards. You know, I've made the shape of the grain, you know, it's fading in and out really quickly, and I have it as a triangle shape, so it's basically doing kind of a percussive shape. Each of those grains is decaying as if I had a fast decay in my envelope, and I was playing a lot of notes. So I'm going to check in with Thomas real quick. I'm not seeing the chat coming up on this particular screen. So we got any questions or comments so far?
Yeah, we had a couple questions. I think one is something I'm actually curious about as well. Are you using any controllers right now in this setup? Or
I am
do you typically,
not.
when you're doing
At
sound?
home in my limited situation here, I don't have everything hooked up all at once. I have a keyboard that I can play, but I don't have any knobs to map to anything right now. But normally I do that.
So you just got like a MIDI keyboard set up.
Yeah, and I'm using my mouse to
and
tweak
then
the
the-
parameters.
Cool. And the other thing, maybe it's something you can get into later, but somebody asked, how do you know when to stop noodling? But I know that you have like a bit of a jam-based approach to producing, at least at times. So maybe that's something you could kind of dive into at some point during the
No,
stream.
I think that's a relevant question because right now I'm noodling. I'm doing sound
Yeah.
design in front of you, but I'm also thinking about how this part might fit with my track or my tracks if this were part of a live set. Although I don't know, using pigments in a live set, it's like I said, it's a CPU hog. It might be like, I might want to commit these to audio. And that actually is one of the ways that I stop noodling. So for example, I might have an audio track set up to just record the output in real time of what I'm doing right now as I go through and explore the possibilities of the granular sampling. I'll have an audio record of all of that, and then I can go back and chop it up into material for producing another track or to throw into the live set or whatever. So that's one way I handle the noodling, is I let myself noodle, but I'll just record it all. And it's all done. It's all done with like with a destination in mind. And you might be playing around and think, "Oh, I don't like that," in the moment based on how you're feeling. But then like you listen to it again later after you record it, and you go, "Oh, that's cool. I can use that." You know, so it's a way of like not censoring. Use the raw material in different ways.
Got it. It also
Yeah.
seems like I might still be doubling up on my voice. So I don't know
That's
if
weird.
there's
I don't have your. It must be because it's coming in through the mixer here. Fixing it, I'll be honest, fixing it is going to interrupt our stream. So let's just deal with it, if that's okay. And I'll turn the volume down a little bit more, and we'll try to get it right for next time.
All right, sounds good.
Actually, here's another thing I can do. Let's switch over to headphones. I prefer working on speakers, but if we're having feedback issues, we can do headphones.
Sounds good.
Are we still getting the doubling?
Let us know in the chat, guys, if you're hearing my voice doubled or not.
Okay.
And I'll let you continue on, John.
Someone just asked, what is noodling? That's funny. Noodling is just playing and wandering without a specific idea. Like right now, I mean, I'm not exactly noodling. Like if I was playing guitar and I was just like improvising melodies nonstop, changing constantly with no defined shape or arrangement, that would be noodling. So right now I'm just playing with this loop, and it's kind of noodling. I like that. So that what I'm doing is modulating the size of the grain. Let's get that moving with an LFO. I want to have that. I like how it sounded where it went from short to long. So to assign a modulation source, there's a couple of different ways to do it, but you see that little plus next to the size knob there. If I click on that, I can choose from any of my available modulators. If I want to use an LFO, I can just go to the particular LFO I want to use, click, and give it an amount, and immediately you see the size is starting to change up and down according to the rate of that LFO. Let's go look at the LFO and see what that rate is. It's a sine wave. It's moving at the rate of a half note. Let's hear what that sounds like. Let's slow it down. All right, so what's happening here is the LFO is starting over again every time I play a note. It's set to the reset source is set to mono keyboard, and every time I play a note, the LFO phase position starts again, right? But if I want it to be continuous or free running, I can go here. I can also have it start with the DAW clock, or the sequence start, or the clock. But let's try free running and see how it works. So it's kind of, it's not following exactly with the clock, so it's just going at whatever position that it's in, and it sort of goes in and out of phase with the groove. I want it to be tighter than that. So let's go in and set it to sequence start. So every time I start the sequence, it's going to start the phase position of the LFO. experimenting with different wave shapes there. That already sounds like a good loop. I might just commit that to audio, but let's see what else we can do with it. I feel like I'm going in kind of an aggressive metallic industrial direction, so let's keep pushing that way. You have an effect little section here in the engine. There's a unison detuning, there's a resonator, there's a bit crusher for some digital distortion. I'm going to check modulation, right? So I can do frequency modulation or amplitude modulation. That's what ring mod is. And over here, there's a modulator section. So this is an oscillator that you can set to these various shapes. I'll just leave it at sine, right? And this is going to modulate the pitch or the amplitude of the sample at a very, it's in the audio range. It's if I play a C, it's going to play a C in that audible frequency, and it's going to modulate the pitch of the sample. And this is basically FM synthesis in a way. So let's check out and see what that sounds like. Actually, let's get rid of the beats or the hi-hats just for a second so we can hear more clearly what's going on. Right, so yeah, it's modulating, again, the pitch of that sample very fast. And anytime you do that to any sound, you're creating a new, more complex, brighter wave shape. If I change the tuning of the modulator to make it really slow, now you can hear the pitch wobble up and down. It's slow enough that we can hear it, track up and down. All right, so I've got a lot of possibilities there to add more intense noise to this sound. I can modulate these things as well. It doesn't have to be on continuously. Let's try introducing some envelope modulation to the amount of the frequency mod there. So we can go here. This is another way to add your modulator. You can click on the modulator that you want to use, and then hover over the parameter, and you see there's a little orange ring there. Just click and drag up, and now that modulator is assigned to that knob. So, I played half notes in my MIDI. Every time I play a note, it's triggering this envelope. It's got a slow attack, and you're hearing that amount of frequency mod increase and get brighter. It's making that kind of swelling effect. This is pretty intense stuff, guys. I don't know. It just happened. Sometimes these things just happen. How's it going, Thomas? How's the chat?
We're doing good, man. A lot of engagement. We heard that the voice has been fixed, the doubling issue, so the headphones must have been the trick there. Yes. Tori said that she thinks the track should be called Noodling.
Okay, I'll do it.
Yeah. And then we got a couple people, a couple different questions. So somebody said they think the LFO is too regular. You should draw it in. So I guess that was more of a comment, but
sure.
I wasn't sure if that's an option to do
absolutely.
or not.
Well, have a different shape. So, okay, it's regular in that it's synced perfectly to the clock. So you're hearing it do the same shape every time it goes around. We can offset it. We could also randomize. Okay. So I could make it so the LFO is speeding up and slowing down. There's a lot of different possibilities here. So,
got it.
But, even if I just change it so it's free running, it's like a wavetable LFO. You can like freely move between the different shapes here. So that could be automated or modulated to change the modulation. I could have it not synced. It could just be in hertz, right? And so it's going to be unrelated completely to whatever the clock is doing. Although I think right now that that frequency modulation is really sort of taken over. Let's actually...
Yeah, it's going crazy.
It's going really crazy. So actually, let's I'm actually going to... Here we go. Turn this off for a moment. Yeah, the way it's happening now, it's not on the clock. So you're hearing that modulation of the time parameter change. Make it a little more exaggerated. Actually, that's the wrong one, isn't it? All right. Anyway, I don't want to get stuck on that one, but I don't believe you can draw in LFOs here like you can in Serum. You can add breakpoints, but there are functions. I haven't explored this yet, so I'm not going to attempt to demonstrate it for the first time in the stream. But here you can create your own shapes if you want to be more precise about what the shape is.
Definitely. So one thing Regine said was, how about adding a hi-hat and a clap? Are you planning to build?
I have those already.
Around? Oh, I definitely hear
Yeah, I had the drums from last time. I'm just continuing where I left off and adding some new parts using pigments.
Gotcha. And she said, sounds great.
Thanks.
Berlin grunge, exclamation point.
A little bit. I like to think of it as sort of 90s New York hard techno because that's where I come from. But they're on the same plane. I agree.
Mm-hmm. And one other thing, which is 36 people watching, he said they think you beat out Max for the highest viewership so far. We'll have to look to the stats for that one, but everybody else is asking to go back into it, so I'll let you get to it, man.
Great. So let's tone it down. I'm going to switch gears a little bit. You know, we're kind of at the halfway point now. I want to talk a little bit about 343 Labs and who we are and what's going on there. You know, we're a school. We do online classes, and you know, once we're all allowed to meet up in real life again, we have classes in the classroom. I do a Ableton Live course there. I'm one of the instructors for Ableton Live, and also I have a synthesis course. I'm actually currently teaching one that just started. If you happen to be interested, you know, we are still accepting students, so feel free to drop us a line about that. And go to 343labs.com for any info that you might need about classes and costs and so on, all the practical stuff. And again, we're giving away a license for Arturia Pigments, which is what we're playing with. And I will also ask all of you to please subscribe to 343 Labs on whatever, you know, whether you're on YouTube or Twitch, whatever platform you're on. Give us a follow, and so you know exactly what's up with us all of the time. Anyway, let's get back to some music. I'm actually going to ditch the metallic banging here for a moment, although I still have my big kick drum. And I'm thinking about doing some sort of chord stab, something more atmospheric and harmonic, but still rhythmic. So let's bring in another Pigments. Not necessarily. I don't know if I'm necessarily going to try to make this fit with the first thing. Let's have a listen to some of the other stuff I have going on and see if we can't get some ideas. All right. That's more like it. I kind of want. I'm going a little darker now. So get our pigments going. And sometimes one thing I'll do is, like, I know I want to do a chord stab, right? And if I'm starting from scratch, let's go here to the default template. This is just one wavetable oscillator with basic waveforms. And it's a sine wave. Sometimes I'll just go ahead and start playing in or drawing in a rhythmic idea or melodic idea or a chord or whatever it is, just on that simple sound, and then start to explore from there. So kind of get the very basic idea down first. Something a little bit housey. Or maybe diminished. I'm already thinking too hard about it. That's something, you know, you also shouldn't do, is when you're just throwing these ideas out, just go with it. Don't over complicate it by censoring yourself. Like, oh, that's not right. Oh, that's not right. Just throw it in there. All right, so I'm just going to start throwing it in there. All right, it almost, you know, Abe does this too. He just throws in some whatever and then something works. And I agree with that. Especially for this style, you can just kind of let it be free and not worry too much about how perfect it is. You can perfect it after. So let's find one of those and see. I can quantize it maybe. All right, I'm keep going back to like the nice chord. I guess that's what I want right now. All right, so we can I mean, that's just some basic waveforms. I'm just moving the position through the wavetable. All right, let's make it plucky. I'm actually going to just assign some modulators, and then I'm going to go through and try some different wavetables in here, what the variations are. So, where's my envelope? Let's get envelope 2. Going to assign that to the wavetable position. Now, just going through some different wavetables, excuse me, to hear some variation. All right, let's turn on some unison voices here. Interesting. I like that sounding a little richer. If I move the wavetable position independently, I've got the envelope moving the wavetable position around, but I could also, let's do an LFO free running and get that, just move the wavetable position a little bit so it's always moving. All right, I'll need to go back and tweak that a little bit, but that's something for now. All right, I'm gonna lose the wavetable. Let's just concentrate on this chord. All right, I've got this nice hypnotic evolving modulation, right? We're hearing different parts of the wavetable happening. It's getting brighter and darker. And that's all just in that one oscillator. Let's filter it. There's a bunch of different filters to try. Let's see what sounds good with this. I like the SEM model. You can kind of morph it. You go from a band pass to a low pass with a notch up to a high pass. That's a nice variation. A little more stereo on the unison detuning. Let's get that filter also modulating a bit with the envelope. I'm going to try the same one as the wavetable position. So let's click on envelope 2, hover over the cutoff. Here's my ring, give it a little bit of an amount. No, actually I'm going to lose that one. Exit out. It's a little bit too slow of an attack. So we can try the envelope 1 or we can try envelope 3. Let's give it its own, envelope 3. Right. Try that again. That's nice. Okay. Totally different vibe now, right? We went from like banging hard to deeper, groovier, a little bit more soulful. All right, I got to get rid of that 707 loop. That's gone. Let's see what the effects are like in Pigments and dub this out a little bit. We've got, wow, 3 effects. There's a bus A, a bus B, which work as inserts, and then there's an effect send. There's some reverb on there. Let's go back to bus A. There's a delay here already. I'm actually going to change this to the tape echo. Right. We can do triplets or dotted. Let's do dotted. I like that, but it's too full. I want to thin that out. I can actually, let's move this over to another position here in the bus. Actually, let's put it in the middle. And then here in the first one, I can choose some kind of a filter to cut out the lows. Here we go, high pass, a little bit of resonance. And a little reverb makes it nice and spaced out. Yeah, not bad. Definitely a deeper vibe going on just with that one chord stab. How's it going, Thomas?
Doing well, man. We did have a question that came up about your synthesis class, actually.
Sure.
TWD Industries was wondering, is there any chance you cover Reactor and Max MSP during the course? I'm not sure if it's a strict curriculum or not.
We could talk about it. I think something like Max for Live needs a whole dedicated course, or Max in general. Same with Reactor. If you're talking about modular programming environments, that's another level. It's different than what the course is about. But we do talk about, there's an opportunity to be flexible with the curriculum. There's certain stuff that we do cover. But towards the end of the course, there's a couple of classes where we're free to explore and look into stuff like that. Although I have to say it's generally less about the programming and modular side and more about the possibilities, like the creative possibilities of using some of these devices that are available in things like Max and Reactor. Since the course is, it's geared towards sort of like using synthesis creatively and that is as important, or maybe even the most important thing about it. The synthesis techniques are part of the creative process, right? So if you're a musician or a producer or a composer or whatever, for some reason, your window just keeps disappearing. So where was I? Right. It's sort of about looking into the possibilities of synthesis and sound design, to be creative with them, to be aware of all of the possibilities. Sort of like, as an artist has a palette of colors and a bunch of brushes, right? You as a producer composer have all these types of synthesis and sound design possibilities that you can choose from. That's kind of really what the focus of the course is.
Gotcha. That sounds really good. And somebody else had a more specific question about the track. They're asking, what's modulating the hi-hats?
Oh, okay. So it's what we did last time, and I was talking about running the whole drum kit through distortion. And, distortion doesn't just make things sound dirty and louder and brighter. It also acts as a type of compression. It's actually cutting the peaks off of the waveform. And if you have a sound that's like a kick drum that's louder and then another sound that's quieter, when the kick drum comes in, you'll hear the other sounds kind of get compressed down. Right? So, if I play this pattern, for example. Oh, now that I hear it, you may be asking about something else, but the sound of the hi-hat is changing a little bit when the kick drum hits, right? So it sounds like the hi-hat has a little bit of a breathing to it, like going up and down, but there's also on the hi-hat, and this is just a classic trick with hi-hats, is to put on a flanger. This is basically like the default flanger setting in Live. Any flanger will do. And it gives it that sweeping up and down effect.
Cool. And I just wanted to also mention the last chance to enter the giveaway is going to be right now. I'm going to put the link in the chat one more time, but it's going to be closing shortly.
Cool. All right. Everybody get in there. Don't miss your chance to get pigments. It's pretty cool. Right, so let's get back to the music and back to so you can see what I'm doing. Let's see what else we can do to this sound. It's nice and pretty. I kind of want to make it a little tougher, right? You know, the beats are so tough. We could layer it with something. You know, we go back to the synth view. We've got 2 engines, so I could have a wavetable and then the other engine doing something else. Could try layering the wavetable with the sample, perhaps? I don't know. Let's see. I'm actually going to turn off engine 1. So there's the grand piano sample, and it's going through all of the same filter and effects as the other engine. I can change that, though. I can have it go into filter mix 2. And now it's going through its own signal path. Still going through the effects, though. Let's check out some granular stuff. Whoa. That's kind of nice, the noisy texture. I like this. And just moving the position, we're getting all these different variations. Whoa, at the end it's going out of key, but in a nice way. So that is definitely something that we want to play with. That's good. I'm upping the density now. It's getting a little fuller. Increasing the width so they're panning around a little more. The pitch is modulating, each grain, the pitch is modulating just very slightly. It gives it sort of a chorusy effect. If you go too far with the pitch modulation, it's all out of tune now. Let's keep that subtle. I like this. I wouldn't mind just having that slowly sweeping back and forth with a long LFO. That'd be the easiest way to do it. All right, so let's go to LFO 2. Give it a range to modulate. You can see that position moving back and forth. Too fast now. Let's slow it down. In hertz. Very, very slow. All right, it's retriggering. We don't want it to retrigger. We want it to be free running, right? Right, there's that little bit at the end of the sample where it's going on to a different chord. So I need to limit the range of this so it doesn't go too far. I don't mind it going a little faster too. That's kind of nice too. Sometimes it's louder and noisier. Sometimes it's a little smoother over here. Let's hear how that mixes together with the other layer now. All right, we need to adjust our levels here. Bring this one down a little bit. Getting dreamy, sleepy now. Let's hear it with the beats again. Oi! Did you see my CPU go crazy? That's one thing about Pigments. It's CPU hungry. So if you get a whole lot of voices going on at once, you're doing big polyphonic sounds and you're using the granular thing and effects and lots of modulation, you might just get a spike in your CPU like we just saw. Let's see if it plays back now. Just made the variation on the pattern. I stretched it out to 4 bars and just transposed one chord up, just so it's not quite as monotonous. Just a little bit of variation. Let's make another version of that clip. But this one I'm going to transpose up minor third, just as a musical progression. I like where this is going. What do y'all think? Thanks, Frank. McGee is saying 136 or 140. It's 136. It's a little, it's not too fast. I like fast nowadays. I'm getting old. I need it to be fast to keep me awake. So we're in the home stretch. Things have gone a lot more smoothly this time than last week. We had all sorts of issues with the stream. I guess it's been looking and sounding all right this time, right, Thomas?
Yeah, man, it's doing great, and we've got tons of people who tuned in. So thank you to everybody out there, who's been sticking around through all the difficulties. But like you said, everything's going great today.
Excellent. And let's see. Before we wrap up, we're going to do the giveaway, right? But before we wrap up, let's. Hopefully the CPU explosion sound is recorded. Yeah, it's in there. You can sample it if you want. I don't mind. So any last questions that people have, or if you want to see, I don't want to get anything real deep because we're almost done, but let's see what we can do in a couple of minutes as far as questions.
Cool. Sounds good.
Let's see. Louis Colon, I love each simple concept to create great dynamics with each part. Thank you. That's really what I'm all about. I like to not have too many things going on at once, but like a few things that are moving in interesting ways. So getting more out of less. It's not minimal like in terms of a style of music. It's just sort of minimalism in terms of composition style, and looking for subtleties that can change. And David, yeah, thanks about having the chords pitch up and down. I'm definitely, I like this hypnotic, dubby, techno, tech house kind of thing, but also I like chord progressions. I like melodic changes. And so being able to find a balance there and have it be musical, but not too much, right? I still want to keep it techno, right? And hypnotic. Okay. Thanks, everybody. I'll hand this over to Thomas now. Let's do the giveaway.
All right, sounds great.
Oh, I got to fix your screen. Sorry. I'm having an issue with Skype and OBS today. I guess we're not perfect here, right? We still have some a few little technical glitches, but there you are, and you're locked.
Yeah.
So don't go away again.
Perfect. Always learning something new. So we do have our giveaway winner selected, and just to remind everybody, today's giveaway is for Arturia Pigments, which is the VST John's been using for most of the session today. Really powerful synth. And I'm excited to announce that David Schwartz is actually the winner for today's giveaway, who is,
yes.
I believe, a student of John's, right?
Yeah, I've taught him a bunch. He's great. Awesome.
Yeah, and he's been a long-time supporter of 343 Labs, as a school and a community. So we're really
he was around for Dubspot too. He knows the whole story.
Yeah, exactly. So it's great to see it go out to somebody like him. But don't forget, everybody, we're doing giveaways every single day that we're streaming. So, come back tomorrow for something completely different. We can give away all sorts of different hardware. And big thank you to our sponsors of today's show, which is Arturia. They've been a big support of the school as well. And be sure to, subscribe and tune in for the rest of the shows. Check out our website and all the upcoming classes, especially our summer immersive classes are going to be really cool. So I highly recommend you checking out those. I'll put the link in the description or in the comments. Anything else to leave them with, John?
Well, I just noticed a couple of questions that came in a little bit later. One of them was, I'd love to see you move the clips into the arrangement view. That's definitely coming. Like, we're kind of progressing through different stages of the process. And yeah, I will definitely, maybe next week or the week after, whatever's coming, we'll see how it goes. But yeah, so come back and we'll definitely get into some arranging. And then there was a question, I think from Sleepy Abu, about when do you get into away from LFOs and envelopes and start again into reverb. That just depends on the sound. Sometimes I might want the reverb from the beginning and I'll make the sound with the effects on. And having the effects on the sound will lead me in a certain direction. Other times I'll make the sound all, starting from the oscillators and the modulation and everything. And then at some point say, oh, I'd love to hear a reverb on this, and then, or whatever effect it is, and then add it later. It really could go either way. It just depends on what my feeling is at the moment or what I think I need. And anyway, once again, I'm John Selway. This has been Taco Tuesday. I'm sorry, Techno Tuesday. I won't say that again, I promise. I'm just hungry. And thanks again for tuning in. As always, come back, follow us, join, check out 343labs.com to see what's coming up and see what our classes are. Who's on tomorrow, Thomas?
It's going to be Justin Beck, aka Lewis Beck, and he's going to do a show called Stuck in the House, which is about producing house music.
Got it. On the nose, that one. Definitely stick around we're all stuck, so we might as well be stuck together watching streaming production music production videos, so that's all good. And have a good day, everybody. I'll see you next week.